And the case, woo, okay. Here's the first flaw.
Hello everyone. Today I'm reviewing a watch I first saw on another YouTube channel I enjoy called Just One More Watch, which gave it a glowing review for the price. This is the Pagani Design GMT Master S5. And as you can see, it's a homage to the Rolex GMT Master II Batman. But while a Rolex GMT Master II currently retails for $25,000 to $30,000, the Pagani sells for about $120,000. I'm going to be showing you the initial unboxing and my first impressions, discussing homage watches, a term that everyone loves to hate, looking at the details, and answering the most important question when buying a mechanical watch in this price range. Is it a great value, or is it a waste of money? That coming up next.
Right, so I have here the Pagani Design box. Let's check it out. A little bit of dust on there. Nice enough looking box. In this price point, I like to see a box that is, not just a piece of cardboard, but also isn't too beautiful, because I want the money in this price point to be going toward the watch and not toward the box. So far so good. Let's take a look. So padded area there. Got a buffing cloth. And there's the watch. And wow, that is a very nice looking watch, I have to say. Oh, and look, it started up right away just with a simple movement. That was enough to get it going. Yeah, very nice looking watch. So let's take a look in a little more detail here. So if I zoom in, good crisp looking dial markers, clean looking hands. Cyclops is a little thick, but not too bad. Steel looks nice and smooth. You've even got a logo on the crown. Nice sharp coin edges in the bezel. Crisp lettering in the bezel. So first impression, pretty darn good for this price point in particular. Let's take a look at the bracelet. All right. So if we take this out. Oh, it's an open case back. Nicely designed. The actual movement itself, the metal doesn't look amazing just at a first glance. It's got a bit of a rough finish, but not too bad. And the actual rotating weight, oscillating weight, has a nice Pagani design on it. So yeah, interesting. Bracelet looks nice. I'll have to take the plastic off, but looks like it's in pretty good shape. And the case, woo, okay. Here's the first flaw. Yikes. You can even see it almost. That is a very, very sharp edge on the back of that case. That's like a knife edge almost. Yikes. And it's not, I don't know how much you can zoom in here, it's a rough edge. So it's not only sharp, but it catches. I bet you could cut paper with that thing. So that is a flaw. I wonder what the other side's like. Still sharp, not as bad. Sharp. Wow, oh, that corner, very sharp. Okay, so if you were to wear this watch out of the box with the case like this, you would definitely get some chafing. You'd get some sore red spots on your arms, no doubt, on your wrists, from that case back, that's going to have to be filed down. But other than that, the watch looks pretty good. Yeah, all the features seem to be quite good. So first impressions, certainly looks-wise, looks great. Like, actually, I'm kind of blown away by how good it looks for this price point. Aside from those sharp edges on the case, that's a little bit of a flaw in the finishing, which, you know, you might expect at this price point. So that's the start. Let's get more detail on this and see how it looks.
Alright, so the first thing I need to do is cover the features. This watch is loaded with high quality features. It's a stainless steel case with screw down crown, nicely embossed with the Pagani logo. It's water resistant to 100 meters. It weighs a hefty 142 grams of stainless steel. And it's a classic 40mm size that will fit most people comfortably. The bezel insert is ceramic, not aluminum, so highly resistant to scratches. The lettering is crisp and clean, and the action of the bezel is smooth. It's a 60-click bezel instead of 120, but who cares? In previous releases, the blue line on the bezel started below the 6 instead of in the center, and noticeably this has been corrected, or at least 80% corrected. It's a little bit off-center, but that's unnoticeable except at macro level. The glass is sapphire crystal, so again highly resistant to scratches, with a Cyclops magnifier for the date that is also sapphire. In previous models, the sapphire crystal was raised slightly above the bezel, increasing the probability that it would be chipped. And again, this has been corrected and the crystal is now flush. It is not anti-reflective coated, which arguably makes the watch more blingy, but at the same time reduces its legibility in bright light. It was difficult to photograph under many lighting conditions due to the glare, which a human brain can ignore but the camera lens can't. The dial markers are nicely detailed, lume-filled, and importantly, everything is aligned on the dial flawlessly. And of course, the major feature of the Pagani GMT is that extra hand for the second time zone. In case you're unfamiliar with how this works, it means that it has an extra 24-hour rotating hand, and therefore a second time zone can be read off the bezel in 24-hour time. For instance, in this photo, the time in my second time zone is 13:30 or 1:30 p.m., and that's indicated by the blue hour hand and read off the bezel. Mechanical GMT watches are very handy when traveling, especially for people who like to decompress on holiday by limiting their use of technology. It has an exhibition caseback, and underneath, a self-winding mechanical movement with a customized rotor. The Pagani comes with this beautiful looking Jubilee bracelet with a quick release clasp in a Rolex style. During my unboxing I had trouble getting the clasp open, but that's only because it was shrink wrapped, which I noticed later. Now that the wrapping's off, the action is snappy and easy. On paper, this watch is a phenomenal value. But as you might expect, at this price point things aren't perfect, so let's get into the details. First, let's talk about the case and the bracelet. Reviews of this watch on Amazon are very good, 4.6 to 4.8 out of 5 depending on which listing. The two most frequent negative reviews are about the packaging and the bracelet. Regarding the packaging, I'm not sure what's going on in Germany in particular, but packages to Germany seem to arrive in boxes that are either too big so the watches bounce around, or with not enough padding so the watch gets damaged. The other common complaint is that the bracelet falls apart. Now, I admit, when I first heard this complaint, my watch snobbery kicked in and I thought, okay, here we go again. Another inexpensive watch that people try to resize themselves to save money, they don't know how to do it, and then they blame the watch. But no, in this case, they're right. I put this watch on my wrist to see what it looks like, and the bracelet immediately fell apart within the first 20 seconds of me putting it on. The bracelet wasn't actually damaged in any way, but it's held together by screws, and one of those screws had come loose. Later, when I was removing the screws to resize the bracelet, the issue became obvious. The screws were all bone dry. When you wear this watch, the bracelet swivels and moves around the screws. If the screws are dry, friction will quickly work the screws loose and your bracelet will fall apart. Since you have to take out the screws and links to resize the bracelet when you get it anyway, take an extra 5 minutes to remove all the screws, a few on each side, oil them, and screw them back in. After doing this, I had no issues with the bracelet falling apart or coming loose whatsoever, and once this is done, screws are superior to cotter pins in my opinion. The thing I noticed straight away is the sharpness of the finishing. Both the watch's caseback and bracelet have sharp edges and corners. My intention was to wear this watch day and night for 2 weeks to see if it would cause any chafing or red marks after I noticed it, but I didn't even last that long. After 5 days, I didn't have any chafing as I expected, but it was so horribly uncomfortable I couldn't wear it anymore. By the end of day 5, my wrist and in fact my whole arm was sore. Wearing this watch out of the box is like wearing a nerve stimulation torture device. So here's what I did. I took out my 2000 grit sandstone and gently took the rough edges off the case. Then I got my rotary tool with a buffing wheel, smeared it with jeweler's rouge, and buffed any sharp edges I found. It took about 15 minutes to make this watch comfortable. If you don't have a rotary tool, you can use sanding sticks or something similar instead, starting with 2000 grit and ending with 4000 or 5000 grit. Next, I did the same thing with the bracelet. The bracelet is this nasty maze of sharp edges, so doing it to a respectable level took about 45 minutes. It's important to note that you should never, ever do this with a valuable watch. Take it to a watchmaker or even a restoration specialist. But do I care if I ever so slightly mismatch the brush marks or misalign the edging on the underside of this particular watch? No, I do not. The easier option would have been to throw the bracelet away and use a different one, but it really is a beautiful, well-built bracelet. It's just too bad it doesn't arrive in completed condition. On the note of brush marks or scuffing, it's important to point out that the stainless steel is not all the same in terms of quality and hardness on every watch. On this watch, although the quality is acceptable, it certainly invites scuffing and scratches more than some major brands, especially the bracelet. This is the Pagani logo on the clasp after wearing it for about a month. Now I want to show you just how important that smoothing step is. Here's a photo of the clasp before buffing. Sharp 90-degree edges and a rough finish. In comparison, here's the clasp of another inexpensive watch, the Invicta Pro Diver I reviewed on this channel, and you can see how rounded and polished the Invicta is in comparison. Now here's the case back and lugs of the Pagani after I sanded and buffed it. In comparison, here's the case back of the Invicta Pro Diver as it comes from the factory. And here's the case back of another low-priced dive watch I reviewed, the Orient Ray II. On the Orient, all the edges are beautifully smoothed and finished, making it ultra comfortable. It makes a huge difference. I viewed several other YouTube videos about this watch, and the edges appear to be just as sharp in their videos, yet nobody talks about the edges problem, except in Just One More Watch, where he mentions that the bezel grip is rather sharp. One paid promotion video even described it as the most comfortable Pagani Design watch I've ever worn, which I suppose could be taken any way you like, depending how uncomfortable the other ones were. Regardless, after completing the sanding and buffing on this Pagani, it's now comfortable enough that I don't notice it at all on my wrist. As an overall package, the Pagani GMT is a homage watch of the Rolex GMT Master II. Now, some people just hate the word homage, partly because it sounds hoity-toity and because people think it's dishonest. Just use the word fake or copy. However, there is a difference. If this watch were a fake or a copy, it would have a Rolex logo on it, and the person wearing it, or the person selling it, or both, would be pretending it's a Rolex. Rolex lovers tend to freak out about homage watches, but the fact is that all brands find their non-technical design elements difficult to copyright because of their lack of originality. The iconic Rolex Submariner, for instance, has one longer hand for the minutes and one shorter hand for the hour, indices to mark the hours, which countless watches have used before. It uses lume on the dial, which many watches had before. It has a rotating dive bezel, first used by Blancpain on the 50 Fathoms. It has a Mercedes hand, whose logo was first used by Mercedes Auto Company in 1909. You get the idea. The overall combination makes for a unique-looking watch, but it's something that's difficult to copyright. These days, companies are attempting to trademark entire faces or the whole case and bracelet combination as a set, but it remains to be seen how effective this will be. As for the Pagani brand itself, I'm sure nobody cares about the history of the brand when they buy this watch, and you're certainly not paying any premium price for the name. However, the company has a quality that's somewhat of a rarity for Chinese microbrands. They're completely honest about who they are. Many Chinese watch brands manufacture fake histories or claim descendancy from some renowned watchmaker of the past. Some even set up offices in Germany and make badly written German language websites to impress English buyers. Pagani Design tells it straight. Their website says that Guangzhou Pagani Design Limited is an independent watch brand established in Guangzhou, China in 2012, specializing in making homage watches of famous brands like Rolex and Tag Heuer. So 10 points to Pagani for telling it like it is. Now, how about the movement and the accuracy? My biggest fear with this watch was that it wouldn't be accurate enough to make wearing it practical. The movement is a bit of a mystery. It's listed everywhere as model DG5833, made by Guangzhou Panyu Pearl Company, Pearl Clock and Watch Company, part of the massive Guangzhou Pearl Group that makes everything from resort hotels to pianos. However, it appears to be the same movement as Mingzhu Watch Company, which may also be part of Guangzhou Panyu Pearl. I didn't spend too much time going down the rabbit hole of Chinese manufacturing where each company owns several others and they all own parts of each other. Whoever makes it, it's a self-winding movement with a 36-hour power reserve and an unexpectedly nice finish. The palette jewels show no signs of wear, they have just the right amount of shellac, and there are no burrs, shims, or signs of force anywhere that fit the pieces together. With tool watch movements, in some positions they run slowly, and in some positions they run quickly, which should mostly cancel each other out. This particular watch runs a few seconds slow per day when worn, and a few seconds fast when horizontal, like when it's on a table at night. After wearing this watch daily for 7 days, and taking it off each night, it was running slow by exactly 3 seconds, which is fantastic. Since then, I've worn it several times, and it's always been remarkably accurate. After wearing it for another 10 days, it was running fast by 3 seconds. Amazing performance for a $100 watch. It was running so accurately, I kept wearing it because it seemed like a shame to stop, like I'd be interrupting a world-class performance. So, what's my conclusion? Is this watch a great value or a waste of money? Well, straight out of the box, it's junk because the finishing is so bad, it's literally unwearable. However, if you don't mind putting some work into it, you can quickly take this watch from awful to excellent. Basically, you, the customer, are the final production worker for the factory. First, you need to smooth the edges of the case. This takes about 15 minutes. Then you need to take 5 minutes to oil the screws of the bracelet, and then take another 45 minutes or so to smooth the edges of the bracelet. The other option would be to order the model with the Oyster-style bracelet instead, which I've heard is finished better, or just replace it with a different 20mm strap or bracelet altogether. In summary, the Pagani GMT Master S5 arrives at your door as an unwearable watch, but with great specs and great potential. If you're willing to put in some work, it really is a fantastic deal. And some people enjoy this kind of wet bench work, so they won't mind that at all. But if you aren't willing to put in the work, you might as well buy something that's wearable straight away, like the Invicta 9400 GMT in quartz, or if you want an inexpensive, solid mechanical watch but don't need GMT, the Pro Diver or the Orient Ray II watches that I reviewed earlier. However, if you want a mechanical watch, not quartz, with beautiful Rolex styling, GMT function, sapphire crystal, display back, and ceramic bezel, and want to get all of that at an exceptionally low price, the Pagani GMT is your best choice by far, despite its initial flaws. It really is a beautiful watch. It certainly looks vastly more expensive than the price, and it performs at a higher level too. Is this watch the same quality as a Rolex? Well, of course it isn't. You don't get things like platinum-plated dial markers, or a paramagnetic hairspring, or the Rolex in-house movement, or many of the other things that make a Rolex, especially the logo. But for about $24,900 less, your money goes a long way. Well, that's my review of the Pagani GMT Master S5. I hope you enjoyed it. There are many more videos to come, so be sure to subscribe. As usual, I've put links to the watches and accessories mentioned in this video in the description, so if you'd like to support my channel, please use those links. Otherwise, have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.